All right, welcome back. Hour 2, Shawn Hannity Show. Glad you're with us, 800-941-SEAN, if you want to be a part of the program. All right, let me play for all of you. This is what happened in Atlanta over the weekend. Rayshard Brooks, his initial counter with the police, him being patted down by the police, him taking a breathalyzer. Up to the moment, I hear nothing but respect on both sides, up until the moment they began to cuff him, having obviously been above the driving limit for alcohol, and when things went bad. But got to give you a listener warning. It's hard to hear.
So the reason why we're here is because somebody called 911 because you were asleep behind the wheel while you were in the drive-thru, right? You recall that?
I don't.
You don't recall that? You don't recall just minutes ago where you were passed out behind the wheel in the drive-thru? You don't recall that at all?
Absolutely, I don't.
Just complete blur.
I wasn't driving. Like I said, I just drank. My girlfriend, she probably was sleeping, but like I said, babe, I want French fries.
So far as I'm aware, you're the only person that's been seen in this vehicle, right?
Yeah, one person.
And you've been in the driver's seat the whole time. So how did the car get into the drive-thru line with you behind the wheel?
She drove here. I said, babe, I'm drinking
in a black car.
In a black Volvo.
And you got into your car.
I said, hey, you know what, no problem. I'll just meet you at the hotel. I don't have anything on me.
Is it okay if I pat you down, just make sure?
I have just money, gas, and that was it.
Is it okay if I pat you down to make sure you don't have any weapons?
Absolutely.
Just turn around, face away from me real quick. What is this? Is it just a bunch of money in your pocket?
It's just my wallet.
What's all this?
It's just money.
How much money do you have in your pocket?
I mean, maybe a couple $100.
Okay. Like a bunch of ones and stuff here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just walk over here with me, please.
This is Wendy's.
Yes, this is Wendy's.
Yes, I do remember.
You can see the sign, right?
Absolutely.
All right.
I just came to get something.
You mind just putting your phone on the trunk of your car? I don't want you to have anything in your hand. Will you take a preliminary breath test for me? It's yes or no.
I don't want to refuse anything.
It's yes or no. It's completely up to you.
Yes, I will.
Okay, just wait here while I grab it.
Oh, man.
So, just trying to make sure, man, you're safe to drive, that's all.
I know, man.
You scared me a little bit because you were sleeping in there, so that's, why I was making sure you're okay. And then that's...
I know. You just doing your job.
All right, just take a deep breath in. Put your mouth over the mouthpiece. Blow as hard as you can until I tell you to stop. Blah, 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 blah. Stop. Very good.
I just had a few drinks. That's it.
How many?
1.5. Like I said, I was into the second cup. I told her, babe, let's go. Because I'm hungry.
What kind of drinks did you have?
I'm not sure. It's something she ordered. She said top shelf or whatever.
Top shelf what?
I'm not sure.
All right.
I really don't know.
All right. I think you've had too much to drink to be driving. Put your hands behind your back for me. Here, put your hands behind your back. Hey, stop fighting. Stop fighting. Stop fighting. Stop fighting. You're going to get tased. You're going to get tased. Stop.
Mr. Ross.
Stop.
Come on, man.
Stop. You're going to get tased.
Mr. Ross.
Hey, hands off the taser. Hands off the taser. Stop fighting. Hands off the taser. Stop fighting. Taser. 63.
The thing that just stands out in this entire exchange, and I watched it so many times, like so many of you have here, is from the first moment of the encounter, all the way up to the moment the two officers tried to put handcuffs on Rayshard Brooks. It was professional. There was respect on all sides. Everything that you think you'd want to hear in terms of an exchange with a police officer and a citizen. And then all hell breaks loose, which you just heard also. Here to help sort through all of this, we have former Commissioner of the New York Police Department, Bernie Kerik, author of The Grave Above the Grave. Remember, he was the NYPD commissioner during 9/11, September 11, 2001, and former lieutenant commander of the NYPD counterterrorism unit. Sergeant Dimitri Pennie is with us, 20-year vet, Dallas Police, and president of the Dallas, Texas National Fallen Officer Foundation, U.S. congressional candidate now in Texas District 30. Thank you both for being with us. Let me start with you, Sergeant. Up to that moment, did you see anything wrong on either side, be it Rayshard Brooks or the police, up to the moment when they began to cuff him?
No. First of all, thank you so much for having me on, Hannity. But, I saw this thing. I watched this video over and over again to try to figure out, what went wrong. And the bottom line is these officers did everything right. When you got to that confrontation where the individual started fighting with the officer, and when he took that officer's taser, the circumstances changed. We were just talking a couple of days ago about George Floyd. This is not that. And the community needs to completely understand this is not that. That individual, he created the deadly force encounter. When that taser was taken from that officer and we turned back around and pointed it at him, I think that tells a story in itself. So I completely disagree with the position that the mayor took on terminating that officer. I think that they need to go back and look at this whole use of force situation to determine whether or not that force was reasonable and what or not.
I have the exact language of what a suspected felony would be, and I'll get to that in a minute here. So we have the confrontation. You can hear the cops. I think we're all taken off guard just watching it. But when you hear them, stop fighting. You're gonna get tased. You're gonna get tased. Stop fighting. Then you hear that he's taking the taser. A slight scuffle. From my perception, I saw the two cops hit by Mr. Brooks twice. He runs off with the taser. As he's running, he turns around and seems to fire it. One question I have: do you have one or two shots in that taser? Because I thought it was only one.
Yeah, it's typically only one shot. You got the one.
No, I'm not the biggest fan of it. It's an option, but I think there's got to be other options that we give police down the road as we now are reevaluating, other non-lethal tools in a police officer's arsenal, if you will, in moments like this. Non-lethal meaning it will be effective, but it will also save more lives. Do you, based on the video that you see, do you think this shooting was justified?
I hate to really get into the mindset of the officer, but I'm going to tell you, if it's me and I'm in the field and this situation is happening in real time, and you got to think these are split-second situations. I'm thinking about the way I've experienced it, where we've had officers to die in the line of duty because they've missed guns, they've missed weapons. Okay, when that officer, when Mr. Brooks took off and turned around with that weapon, in that officer's mind, I'm seeing the same thing. I'm seeing gun, I'm seeing weapons, and I'm thinking, pull your weapon and fire. Now I've heard all these arguments about why they just didn't shoot him in the leg. Why didn't he shoot him with a taser?
There's no cop training that says to shoot for the leg.
Of course not. Absolutely not. No. In fact, we train to shoot center mass.
Center mass.
Yeah, of course. You're shooting to stop the threat. You're not shooting to execute or kill a person. You're shooting to stop the threat. And that's where this convolution of the media is kind of playing it a certain way to make it appear that there's this major problem within law enforcement where law enforcement was just killing black people. Well, first of all, let's talk about community interaction with law enforcement. We need to start gearing people up. I talk about training all the time. It's not just the officers being trained on how to use force. It's on individuals. It's the community understanding how force can be used. You have to understand in what predicament you can and cannot be aggressive with an officer. In no situation should you be aggressive with an officer. But this was like I said, this was not a George Floyd situation. This guy here, he put himself in harm's way by his actions toward those officers.
The sad tragedy, again, in the moment, Bernie Carrig leading up to this, I saw the interaction between the officer and with Rayshard Brooks. I thought the officers were professional. There was one moment where the first cop that had asked him, to park in the parking spot and get out of the lane, the drive-through lane, couldn't be more compassionate. I mean, it was a real conversation between two human beings at that point.
They were they were.
Oh, go ahead.
They were courteous. They were professional. They were there's nothing more they could have done. They followed the policy by the book. The confrontation itself. I got to admit, when I saw the body cam footage, I was a bit surprised at how the courteous both sides were. And he even said, Brooks even says, I know you guys.
By the way, that might be a factor of you being from New York and this being the genteel South, but that's a side note.
But he's, he even says to the officer, I know you're just doing your job. But the second they went to handcuff him, it changed. Then there was the assault, the attack, the seizure of the weapon. But I want to comment something that the sergeant said. And look, he comes out of Dallas PD. It's one of the best departments in the country. Great cops. It's a rough town to work in, and many, and they've lost a bunch of cops in the line of duty. I remember my son was at one of the last funerals. There's a point that he made about the community and what the community has to do. And here's my problem with what's going on today, Shawn, and it refers to exactly what he said. Why aren't the mayors and why aren't the governors in towns around the country today telling their communities, you cannot attack the police and assault the police. It's against the law. You cannot resist arrest. You cannot obstruct or interfere with an arresting officer. You can't run from the police. You can't hit them with your car. You can't disarm them. Why aren't they denouncing this action? The mayor fired this guy, threw him under the bus, crucified him in the court of public opinion without even a hearing. And you know what? That villainizes the cops, victimizes the thugs, when in fact they should be telling, if you're going to scream and yell about reforms with policing, well, you better be screaming and yelling at the communities where this stuff is happening, and they are completely annihilating the cops.
All right, got to take a quick break. When we come back on the other side, we'll get into the anarchy in Seattle, the defund the police efforts. Listen, you're on the road. You know what it's like. I used to do all my own tune-ups and brakes. And now you look under the hood of any car, and what do you see? GPS, electronics, computers here, computers everywhere. There's nothing I can do to fix a car. And when something breaks, guess what? It's really expensive. That's what carshield.com is all about. They give you options that others won't. They'll customize a plan so you don't ever have, be put in a position where you have these big, costly, expensive repairs that would set you back forever. That's kind of like, that's what insurance is for. You get all the options you want. They also include 24/7 roadside assistance, so you don't need a separate service for that. You also get a rental car while your car is being fixed with an expensive repair. You pick a mechanic, you pick your dealership. It's all up to you. 100,000, 150,000 miles on your car, 5,000 miles. Car Shield has now helped over 1 million customers. All you need to do to keep your family safe on the road, then get covered for that repair, 800-CAR-6000. Use the radio code Hannity, and you'll save 10%, or go to carshield.com. Carshield.com, 800-CAR-6000 for your safety, peace of mind, security while you're out traveling. Quick break, right back. We'll continue.